My name is Charlie Banks, and I'm a 17-year-old kid who started the Young Minds Podcast to spread the Word of God. It is my goal to do this podcast. You learn, you laugh, you cry, whatever it may be. I just hope that you enjoy it and maybe grow in your relationship with Christ. But just remember, this thing that the Lord is starting is way bigger than any of us. So let's get after it. All right, welcome to the podcast, man. I'm so glad to have you on today. If you could just introduce yourself and then tell your testimony, we'll just go right on.
All right. My name is Will McKee. I serve as the college and young adult pastor here at Northside Baptist Church. Basically, what that entails is I do college ministry and young adult ministry from like 18 to about 29. And so singles that are not in college or college graduates and college students, people that are in the workforce in this age range before they get married. That's kind of what I do, kind of what I specialize in here. Short testimony, I grew up here in Valdosta, born and raised. I was not like a fake Christian before I got saved. I was very much living in the world. And then there was a D now when I was 17 years old, February of 2015. And I went to this D now. And then Sunday, dinner ended that morning, and then Sunday afternoon was really when I started to kind of be convicted by the Holy Spirit, and really knew that I needed to get right with God and give my life to Christ. And so that afternoon, that Sunday evening, I came back to church, and I still remember the song that was playing. It was "I Surrender All," and so that night was the night that I gave my life to Christ. February 22nd, 2015.
Awesome. And you'll never forget that. No. Ever. Like, I've still got mine ingrained in my head. Because mine was on Easter. So.
Yeah, there you go. That was hard to forget.
Yeah, that's hard to forget when people remind you all the time, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, you talked about how you came to Northside, but, and what was the process like for you to become the college pastor?
So, I was at Trip McConnell. I was 19 when I went there. I was wrestling up there, and then December around that year came. We had some family issues down here, back home. True, it's about 5 hours from here in North Georgia, and so I had some family issues. So I was heavily debating on moving back, and then I was really praying and kind of more. I was actually asking God to stay, if I could stay at Truett, and so I get a call from the student pastor at the time, and he's kind of relaying to me that Pastor Robbie wanted to offer me the internship. And so I took some time and prayed about it and thought through it, and I was more praying actually, God let me stay, rather than God should I take the internship. And so I wrestled with the Lord for a little over a week actually, and then I finally surrendered to the call. Came back here, started interning. My second semester of my junior year at Trip McConnell. So I just about turned 21 when I came back. Started interning January of 2019, and then so I interned for 1 year under the student pastor, and then I interned the next year kind of like halfway in the college ministry and halfway in the youth ministry. And so I interned during those 2 years, and then I graduated in December of 2020. And when I graduated, Pastor Robbie had been talking with me for about a month about wanting me to take over the college ministry. And so I had been praying about it and thinking through it and stuff like that. And when it comes to ministry, it wasn't just like some stepping stone type deal. Like it was actual call.
Yeah, it was the
actual call of God on my life at the time to take the college pastor position here. And so as of January 1st, 2021, I've been the college pastor.
Yeah, and you do a great job.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You do. And I've listened to some of some of your sermons when you go and preach in the summer, or when you've gotten the chances to do it, when I was in school. I've listened to some online, and you do a great job.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
And I love how Pastor Robbie, like we were talking about earlier, allows y'all to all do that.
Yeah.
And I know that, also too, it, I know everybody, loves Pastor Robbie, but, it gives people, I guess you could say variety of, different styles of preaching, things like that, and different messages and stuff like that.
One thing that it really does for, especially myself, It really helps me like in a training aspect. Like some part of preaching, the way you get better is by doing it more.
Right.
And so it really helps us, myself, Noah, and others that get to preach on Sunday nights.
Right, and being like in front of people.
Yes.
I was like, see, like the 9 o'clock is not as daunting. There's not as many. Then you get the 10:30, bam, like it explodes, and there's so many people in there. And then like the July 4th services when everybody's in there, when all 900 people are packed in the sanctuary at one time. I know it gets hot.
Oh, it's
really hot in there.
There's a reason that the air is always
it always gets hot in those services.
Absolutely.
So, and it was about 2 weeks ago now. You just got married.
I did.
How does that feel to be married to Iona?
Feels great, man.
Yeah.
God put us together. I love her to death, and so we did. Just kind of funny story about the wedding day. So we did personal vows. Her and I were back to back. And I didn't see her. We didn't do a first look. I didn't see her. We just held hands, and she read her vows first, and she started crying, and then I started crying. But like, I was crying more than she was, and then it was my turn.
And then you were like,
yeah. So she wants to like frame our vows, and I think in like when I do sermon notes, I do like bullet points. And so I literally bullet pointed my vows.
Oh my gosh.
So there's not like complete sentences. It's just like I vow and then like a colon and then it's just like down. Just like down, it's just that. And then the last one was thoughts in the moment. So I just did that. And so I started crying hysterically then. And then we get up there and I see her walk in. And dude, like I lose it. Like everybody else is gone, and then like she gets up there, we start holding hands. I'm pretty sure everybody thought I was gonna pass out because I'm pretty sure I started hyperventilating for like 2 or 3 seconds. And I was just so enamored and so in awe of her. And the honeymoon was great. The weather was good. It was super hot.
And where'd you go?
We went to it's a place in Florida called Port St. Lucie. It's around like West Palm Beach area.
Yeah.
So that's where we were.
Cool.
But it's been great.
And funny thing, I actually have a funny story about your wedding day. Because I was actually about to, like, I was sick as a dog. Like, I had really bad sinus infection.
Oh, goodness.
But I told myself, I'm like, I'm going to this wedding no matter what. Like, I'm going to this wedding because I told Will I was going to be there.
Yes,
so I'm going to be there. And so glad that I did because I was able to, it wasn't long. So I was like, I got this. I can get through this. And I knew that I didn't feel great when the sweet tea tasted weird. I was like,
oh yeah,
like this. I wasn't contagious. Like the fever was gone that I had, but I was just like, something's not right. But I'm here, so that's all that matters.
Yeah, there you go.
And then and don't tell Iona this, but the SpongeBob cake tasted better.
Dude, I've had like 3 or 4 people tell me that.
It did. Okay.
Like 3 or 4 people tell me that.
Like. I'm just being completely honest. It tasted way better.
Yeah.
And for context, yes, Will had a SpongeBob cake at his wedding.
That was my groom's cake.
Which that was, it was
I didn't
funny.
know that was happening, actually.
Because, Baines, me and him, love SpongeBob, okay?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And we, he turns around, 'cause we're in line, he turns around to me and he goes, dude, Will's got a SpongeBob cake up here. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, oh my gosh, he does. Yeah. And, that was so funny.
So, just originally, it was going to be... There was somebody that was going to make it. And it was like a Publix cake that they designed. Mm-hmm. Somebody was going to make one, and it was going to have it's going to be like a gym, and then me lifting weights on it.
Yeah.
Because that's like my hobby. And so that was going to be that originally, and then it was like, okay, there's no groom's cake, and then they wound up doing the SpongeBob one. So
I like the SpongeBob one better, I think. Yeah. It was just so funny because so nobody knew, and so it was just like,
oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember actually one year for a birthday that I had a SpongeBob cake. So it's that's not a, everybody I think should have a SpongeBob cake in their life. Was
it's a good cake.
And wasn't it Funfetti or something?
It was Funfetti.
That's why it was better, bro. It was like...
Nothing like Funfetti, bro.
It tasted so good. So. And that was so funny to me. I was like, this is hilarious. The SpongeBob cake tastes better.
I didn't even try any of the SpongeBob cake.
Really?
I only had the wedding
cake.
What? Well, man, the reception for us... So we had So the ceremony was only 19 minutes. It was 4 to 4:19. And then we took pictures for about 30, 40 minutes. Mm-hmm. And so we got to the reception, and it was 5 or so, 5:15. And so we got there, man. The reception just absolutely flew by. It did not feel like it was an hour. And apparently it was about an hour, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Did not feel like it was that long because we just had mine and Iona's dance and then mine and my mom's dance and then we had cake and tacos.
And you saw that picture my mom took of y'all, right? It was like
yes.
And
Yes,
funny. So the reason why there's that gray like outline around it, this was so funny. She was like, because there was somebody's head like, because we had to zoom in, and she's like, "Can you crop that out?" And I was like, "I'll try."
I do my best.
And so I was like, and it was adding this gray like thing around. I'm like, you know what? Let's make this like an outline.
My goodness.
And so there's like in the original picture, there's somebody's head, just right there. But we had to crop it out, but that was such a good picture, y'all though.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, but I mean, and I'd never been to a Northside wedding, so I was like, this is really interesting. And I love the people signing in their names in the Bible, and then favorite verse. I know where I put mine. It was John 15:13.
Nice.
Yeah, that's for mine. So if you want to go find it later,
there
that's
you
for
go.
mine.
There you go.
But I love that because I'd never seen that before at like a wedding before. I mean, granted, I've not been to many weddings.
Yeah.
I wish. So invite me to more weddings. Come on. I have not been to many, but so just for a little fun because I said I was going to do it. Mm-hmm. So how big of a SpongeBob fan did you think you are?
Man, I grew up on it, so pretty big. I watch it, like I still sometimes.
Yeah.
If I'm like super bored or tired and it's like past 9 o'clock at night and I just like can't go to sleep, I'll just turn on SpongeBob and fall asleep.
Me too. Yeah.
So,
I mean the old ones, not the new ones.
No, not the new ones.
The old ones though.
Yeah, they did bring the original writers back until obviously, one of the
Steven Hillenburg died.
Yeah, he passed away a few years ago.
Yeah.
But
I have a special segment for you. Like, nobody else has this segment in the podcast, but what it is who said it. And what I want you to do is tell me who said what when I read this off. Okay? So the first one, it's easy. Even people that don't watch SpongeBob on the regular should know what this one is.
All right.
Is mayonnaise an instrument?
Oh, that's Patrick Starr. 100%,
Yeah.
dude.
That was in Band Geeks.
Come on, dude. Make me think
Is
about
mayonnaise an instrument?
That's right. Make me think about it.
Okay, this one. These next two might make you think.
Okay.
Okay. Give to the children's fund. What have the children ever done for me? What do you think where that one's from? Or who do you think said that?
Is that Mr. Krabs?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, man. That cheapskate.
Now, so if you say I'll give you, there's two answers you can give me on this one. Because you may not know the actual guy's name, but, you may know what he is.
All right.
So he says it in a bit of an accent, but he says come get some. Like he says it in like an accent.
That's Oh, man. I can see it, and I can hear it.
Yeah.
He says it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. That's not is that like the random side character fish?
It's one of them.
One of them? Okay.
Well, he's not, for the episode, he's not a random side character. He's one of the actual characters.
Okay. Oh, man. I can't think of it. I don't know.
It's that sergeant. Remember, they brought that sergeant in to teach SpongeBob for boating school?
Yes.
And he's like,
there you go.
no eating in class.
There you go.
Or
My goodness.
would anyone care for a bonbon?
Yeah, that's right. That's a pretty good episode.
Me and Baines actually recited that in Sunday school or life groups one day.
Goodness.
Because I brought donuts in, and he was like, "You're the sergeant. I'm the kid." And I was like, "Would anyone care for a donut?" And it it was just so funny.
Yeah,
oh my gosh. And we recite SpongeBob all the time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I think, you said a reference when we were in here, yesterday or something like that.
I probably did.
And I about fell on the floor. You
did.
didn't notice, but it was so funny.
I probably did.
I remember I was telling Baines, I was like, I'm gonna give him some questions. Like, you sure he's a super fan? I'm like, look, he referenced it just out of the blue. Yes, come on.
Come on, dude.
He knows his stuff. He knows his SpongeBob.
There you go.
Okay, now we're gonna go into questions about the youth, and it can also be for college as well. Because I'm sure they're facing a lot of these issues as well. Mm-hmm. When you look at the youth today, are you worried, or do you see hope for our future?
I think you can look at it at either way. A lot of it depends on your perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So contextually, college ministry wise at least, a lot of the students that I talk to at Valdosta State are what you call secular humanists.
Yeah.
And so basically just believe that the world is getting better and we as humans, basically the God in that belief system is us. Humanity is God.
Mm-hmm.
And so so the goal of that mindset and that belief system is to make the world better for future generations until the world is no more and the sun explodes or the world ends in some capacity.
Yeah.
And so it's actually a very, very self-centered mindset. They tried to make it sound like it's this like, well, I'm here for the betterment of mankind, when the reality is they believe themselves to be God, and so they just kind of want to selfishly highlight their own achievements and their own abilities and their own talents and stuff like that. And so that's probably like 75% of the students I talk to when I share the gospel on campus is kind of that belief system where a lot of them believe that they're Christians and they're really not. So there's this, it's an organization called the Great Exchange, and what they do is they specialize in sharing the gospel and evangelism on college campuses. And so once a semester, the Great Exchange comes to Valdosta State, and it's from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., and they just share the gospel there for 4 hours. Just have this booth set up.
Was that recent? Was that maybe when the Asbury Revival, was that, or was that something else?
No, that was a different thing. Asbury is actually a Christian college.
Right, well, I'm saying, because I know because of Asbury, there was a whole thing at VSU, right? Or was that something, that's what I'm saying, was that something else?
That wasn't the Great Exchange. That was just David Williams, the BCM campus minister. He just felt led by the Lord to have a worship service on campus.
Great time to do it, huh? Because it was just
really
popping up everywhere. Yeah.
So
that's cool.
But so that's kind of more like the belief system in like college students' minds. And at Valdosta State, a lot of the professors, not every single one of them, but a lot of the professors are very lost. And so, and I say liberal not in the sense of politically, although it does apply, but they teach very anti-God. In their teaching, like be a math teacher teaching about philosophy for no reason.
And so, this is like an exaggerated, well, maybe not really exaggerated, I don't know. I didn't watch all of it, but, one part of a movie I was watching or whatever, it was this kid, he was on the college campus, and the professor's like, what I want you to do, because I think it was theology, something like that. I don't know what the class was. He's like, we got to get this one thing straight. I want you to write on this paper, God is dead. And
that's from the movie God's Not Dead.
And he was like, I can't do that. And, I was like, that's similar stuff that's probably happening all over.
And so basically, that's kind of the basic belief system at a lot of college campuses, kind of just on the rise right now is secular humanism. Just that belief that we are God and that we are to make everything better for everyone else. Yeah. And they do so in a manner that's ungodly and things like that. I mean, should we give to the poor? Absolutely. I mean, Jesus said, the poor you will have with you always. And so, I mean, of course, we should be generous in that. But it's not through a secular humanist mindset. It should be through a mindset of sharing the gospel and evangelism, hoping that those individuals come to Christ. And so that's the mindset it should have, and that's unfortunately not how it works in our world system. And so, but that's kind of what I run into more. And so, but the students that in the ministry here, in the college young adult ministry here, and even a lot of the BCM students that I know, some of them just have a fresh fire for the Lord. And so that's very encouraging to see.
I know, they're great.
And so, if every believer would just have this just ultimate desire to serve God, man, the whole world will be one to Christ. So
100%. And I mean, it's weird, because some people may say Christianity, the numbers are falling, but I'm like, but at Northside we're so I'm like, which one is it? I mean, I know Northside's one place, but I mean, you have to look at it. You can't just discount it. So I mean, because I remember when I first started coming, I think it's going to kind of balance out now, but when I first started coming, most of the baptisms were kids. And either
How long
they
have you
were
been coming here?
About a year.
Okay.
So I mean, most of them were kids, either and there was a few adults in there, and but like I said, the majority were kids, or teens, whatever.
When you say kids, you mean kids ministry, or
kids
youth,
ministry, youth. I mean, in the just young people, and it was just that was something that was really cool.
Yeah, one thing that Pastor Robbie does that I agree wholeheartedly with is he always talks a good bit about the next generation and kind of raising up leaders.
Yeah, I love that.
So, because biblically that's what we're supposed to do, and it's supposed to happen. And so it's not discounting other generations. That's not what he's doing. We're a very multi-generational church, which I love, and I think we should be. I think there are some churches that focus too much on the next generation, and they neglect adults and senior adults, and the generations that have gone before us that have set the example for us to follow. And so, I mean, there are senior adults that have been saved much longer than I've been alive, and the wisdom that they contain is something that I don't have yet.
Right.
And so, because I'm 25 and been saved for 8 years, so. But,
right. I mean, and one thing I'll look at for me, like, it's about 50-50 when it comes to that question, because I come to Northside, like, there's great people here, right? And then, I go to maybe, I just used an example, my school. Oh boy, there's a lot of lost people there.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And sometimes you just have to kind of just grin and smile and wave. Sometimes it's like, and you just got to pray for them because.
Yeah, that's right.
It's interesting it's interesting in those places like that. When you have 3,000 kids out there, that's 3,000 opinions.
Yeah, it was the same way when I was there years ago. So.
Yeah, so did you get a lounge?
I did. I went to lounge there.
Okay, I didn't know if you did or not.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So wait, did you meet Noah there or did you meet him here?
I met Noah here.
Yeah,
I met Noah here. Okay. So we've been friends for been saved for 8 years. So I've been friends for just over that.
Yeah.
So
I've heard a few stories.
Oh.
Oh
boy.
Like I'll bring this one up because it was so funny. I was caught at the train story with the electric wheelchair, and then y'all going around the church and then getting caught by Pastor Robbie.
Oh yeah.
He told me that, and
I
about fell out of my chair.
Noah did?
Like,
Noah told you
yeah,
that?
he did, and I was like, dude.
That was.
I was like,
I'm pretty sure we were both still interns at that time.
Yeah, I mean, he told me that, Pastor Robbie wasn't mad about it. He just comes around the corner and he goes,
"Yeah, we were
Laura, look at what these kids are doing." Like,
I can't even remember. I don't even know if it was during like a work day.
I think he said it was like after hours.
Yeah,
or something
it was
like that.
It was like after hours. Or it was on a Friday. One of the two.
Yeah,
we weren't doing it like during work time.
No,
and so not that time. And
right.
So,
that was so funny. I'm just like, well, you did what? And he's like, we took the electric wheelchair and attached some chairs behind it, and we had a train. I'm like,
we sure did,
dude. Only if you could have gone up to the second floor, then you could have just went all over.
We did. We would go up the second floor. We'd take the elevator.
Oh, I was like,
saw fit in there in our wheelchairs.
Yeah.
And man, the Jazzy, dude. The Jazzy. What a time.
That was hilarious. And then even though I think the other day even Noah was talking about grabbing the Jazzy and just riding around with it. I'm like, dude, no.
You have to help so much, man.
My gosh. Okay, so. Like we discussed, there's a lot of things that young people face in today's world, right? So what advice would you give to me and other young people to help us navigate this world in a biblical way?
Well, I think you kind of answered the first question, the first part of it. Look at everything in a biblical way.
Yeah.
So when I studied in school, they teach you to look at everything through a biblical worldview. And so I would just say, man, don't neglect your time in the Word of God. Don't neglect your time in prayer. And learn that. And then God will use that to grow you. And to grow you in, first off, your knowledge of His Word. But as you face these certain things, you can remember certain passages of Scripture that are applicable to those things. I had lunch with a student yesterday, and he was asking me certain questions about, like, it wasn't just like how to live, but like how to respond to some lost people, especially if they're more like on the hostile side.
Yeah.
And I just told him to look at the example of Jesus. I mean, what did he do? There were times that he, in righteous anger, flipped tables and then called the Pharisees whitewashed tombs. But there were other times, like John chapter 4 with the Samaritan woman, where he was bold and truthful, but in a kind and loving way. Mm-hmm. And so, our ultimate goal and calling on every believer's life is to bring glory to God through everything we say and do, and to make His name known throughout all the earth. And so all this stuff that's popping up, not just politics, but like everything goes back to politics for some odd reason.
Unfortunately, right?
Yeah, exactly. But everything goes back to politics for some odd reason. But like, for example, the rise of transgenderism and LGBTQIA plus, all of these things, the rise of secular humanist mindsets. Like, all of this stuff is shoved in the faces of especially youth because that is everybody's.
Because we're impressionable.
That's the most impressionable time in any person's life, and so they do it in Disney movies and they do it in kids movies in general, and they throw all of these things in there, and they just kind of sneak it in there,
And one thing I noticed too is like, so it's weird. It's like so. School boards, right? For an example, they can make rules or whatever, that they think that they're being followed, but then the teachers try to sneak some things in.
Yep.
And I'm like, and the people get mad at the school boards. I'm like, look, they don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
Because the students aren't going to report it because they think it's normal. And then other times, like, parents, they don't care either. I mean, I had that happen one time, and I knew that it was wrong, so I said, I gave this to my mom to read because it was a passage of some sort. Gave it to her and was like, read this and I want you to see what you think about it. She's like, this is not right. And so we knew a school board member, took it up there and he's like, we didn't like this and we got it resolved. But like, that's just a one-off chance that I just knew what was wrong.
Yeah.
So many of the kids don't and they think it's normal. And it's like, what do you do against that?
Yeah. And so you have to definitely be aware that is out there.
Oh, yeah.
And that is happening. And, be an example in the way that you live. Be an example in the things that you talk about. I think a lot of things, especially in college ministry, that I see is, like wild jokes. Sometimes I think can be taken a little too far, especially in like a sexual manner and things like that. And it winds up putting a bad testimony to someone that's a believer because they made a bad joke.
Yeah.
And so, and we all have feet of clay, our flesh, but at the same time, like, everything that we say and do, Colossians chapter 3, let all be done to the glory of God. And so, but I guess kind of making sure that they look at things through the biblical worldview and be sure that they set a godly example for others to see. So
100%. And, I know, like, I know it's hard to do sometimes because you want to fit in with what, but at the same time, no, you don't. Like, you do, but you don't.
Yeah.
Like, you may think, oh, yeah, I want to do this and that. No, you don't. Because I can think of countless times, like, I mean, I've not been pressured or nothing, but people tell me, like, I did this and that, and I'm like, why?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you didn't have to do that. You could have, like, spent your time, I don't know, at home with your parents. I mean, I don't care if I spend time with my parents. Like, I'm not, people, like, freak out about it. Like, they're still here, so you might as well spend time with them.
Yeah, really.
Right?
Very true.
And plus they're not going to, you're not going to end up in a bad situation with them.
Yeah.
I hope not.
Yeah, I hope not.
But one thing that I always find common is, like, if you just say, one question that I've got for you is, why do you think young people run away when they hear the name Jesus? Like, that's just one thing that I found common. Is, like, if they just hear Jesus, they're just like, stay away from me, right? You know? So why do you think that is?
I think it's because culturally, there's been this perception that Christians are abrasive and that they're trying to shove Christ in your face. And that's partially twofold. Some Christians are that way, unfortunately, but that's partially twofold. And the fact that they have, but the other side of that is the fact that they're lost. And so one of the main reasons people don't want to give their life to Christ is because, this was my reason, is because they don't want to change. They don't want to change the way that they live. They don't want to change who they are. They want the salvation part to go to heaven, but they don't want to change the way that they live. Because, and they don't realize, it's like they know deep down, Romans teaches that the law of God is written on the heart of man. And so we know morality because God gave it to us. And lost people just, they go, youth included, just go continue deeper and deeper into that mindset. And so they get there and they hear the name Jesus and they don't want to change, or they had a bad experience at a church or something, or they knew a Christian that either wasn't really a Christian or is living their life not right for the Lord. And so they have all that and they see all of that. And so I think that kind of turns them away from the gospel.
And one thing I've heard is, like, like as an example, that people say, like, the church is what hurts you, not Jesus. Like, like, because the church has man in it, and they're going to make mistakes. Yeah. Jesus doesn't.
That's right.
And I'm like, I could not have put that any better myself than, Yeah. But I mean, 100%, like, I know, and one thing I have noticed too is that there's a lot more people that are willing to hear you out, at least in my experience. There's more people that want to hear you out and will actually listen than you think. Yeah. Exactly. You just have to start talking.
Absolutely.
Or like I had an example time when there was because I get to use the elevator, yay me, in my school, there was a girl, she was like, I get on and she's like crying. I'm like, what's up? And like, I asked her, I'm like, because I knew who she was, I'm like, did anybody like ask you what was wrong or whatever? And they were like, she was like, no. And I'm like, well, why, why not? Yeah. And cause I was just thinking, she said it was going on for the entire day. And I'm like, she was telling me through the entire day, nobody, like, because they're so self-centered in their little bubble over here, wanted to ask what was wrong. Like, and so I asked her, I was like, and she said something was going on. I was like, well, I'll pray for you about it. And then, we just went about our day. Well, then I get a message from her later that night, and saying thank you for, saying that, whatever. And I'm like, you're welcome, of course. And I'm just like, it just blew me away that I was the only person. I'm not, like, trying to make myself sound better or whatever, but, like, it just blew me away that I was the only person that said anything. I'm like, is that how, like, closed off the world is? Yeah. I'm like, Jesus wouldn't have done that. He would have been, like, he would have seen that and would have been like, what's wrong? Like, how can I, and would have helped her. Like, and I just didn't understand it at the time. I'm like, I don't know if you've seen anything like that before, but.
Yeah, I mean.
It just.
It happens all the time.
It just kind of confused me a little bit. I'm like, is there not, like, if she's over here crying clearly, and nobody was paying attention. Yeah. I just didn't get it.
Yeah. I mean, in situations like that, which clearly it seems like that's what you did, you just have to show the love of Christ. So, concern and care for others, how Christ cares for them, is how we're called to live. And more than that, we can use that to share the gospel. Mm-hmm. And so,
100%. And like I said, people, they'll listen more than, and like what's great is, they'll listen probably more than, like if I was to walk up to them, than probably to like Pastor Avi, just because, like I'm their age,
Yeah. I know what you mean.
And that's just how it is, and plus if they said, oh, he's a pastor, nope, like, that's another thing too. Yeah. I've noticed, at least with kids my age, are like, they'd rather listen to me than like a pastor because they know, oh, they have pastor in their name. They're going to like put it in a certain way and I just don't like it,
It's kind of funny that you mentioned that because when I first took over the college ministry, I was 22. Yeah. And so I was extremely young.
Young pastor, yeah.
Yep. And I was 22 trying to minister to people that are college age, that are my own age. And I'm 25 now and I'm actually not the oldest one in that ministry.
Really?
Yeah, there's a couple that are older than me.
Huh.
And so we extend all the way to 29, and so like, I mean, there's some in there that are older than I am, but
right.
I mean, like, when it comes to that, and it helps in a sense because I'm their age, and so I relate to them on a very deep level because I'm going through literally the same things they're going with, just kind of for some of them, especially the college students, one stage of life farther, maybe a couple now that I'm married, but. And so that really helps in that way. The hindrance is I have to be careful how I lead because I'm young.
Right. But I mean, you grow with them too.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's one thing I said about when Noah took over as the youth pastor. I was like, he has experienced the things that the high school and the middle school are going to go through eventually. Absolutely. So like he can pass that on. Yeah. And he remembers it clearly. I mean, he's only what, 21?
Yep. 21.
So, I mean, so like. He knows all of it, and that's great, that,
absolutely.
Because I think, too, Northside does a good job of, like, breaking the stereotype of what a pastor should look like, if that makes sense. Yeah, most people, if they hear like a pastor, they're like, old white dude, that's just the truth. Yeah. And, so, like, when I say, like, we have some, like, really young pastors, like, how young? They're, like, in their 20s, they're like, huh? Yeah. People, like, look at me funny, but I'm like, it's true, we do. Yep. And they do a great job. All of you do.
I mean, we appreciate that.
But you got any final thoughts or anything that you want to?
No, man. Just so I've been listening to your podcast on and off. I've heard every episode, like I've said. But man, it's a solid honor to be on here. So I appreciate it, man.
I'm so glad that you wanted to come on. You know,
sir. Good time.
And I try to make it as easy as possible. I tell that to everybody. I'm like, all I need is like 30 minutes or like less or more. I don't know, however much you want. Around there, yeah. Sure. And like I just tell people, I'm like, I'll make it as easy as possible. Like all I need is like you to be with me. Yeah. I'll do everything else.
Yes, sir.
And I'm just amazed. Like Miss Hannon, she put it, and hers is a really good one. If you haven't listened to it, she was putting like she said, you have an international ministry, and I was like, no, that just the way that she put it, I was like, no one's ever said it that way, but that's cool. Like because I can see the countries and stuff.
Yeah, I'm about to say I'm curious. Do you know where the country is?
I could show you all of them after we get done, but one I do know like a couple for sure is like Japan, Mexico, Switzerland, places like that. I'm like, sweet. My little voice is going all the way over there. I think like 4% of my audience is from like Canada.
Wow.
So
I'm
like, that's really cool.
Sweet, man. That's legit.
But the great thing is, and this is kind of a pretty cool thing, I can't see I can't see like the exact people or whatnot, so I won't know until I get to heaven what this impact has, like completely.
That's right. Yeah.
And I'm like, that's so cool. So I know somewhat what it is.
Yeah.
But I don't know the full thing.
For sure. So.
And I could get paid for it, but nah. I mean, that's just being honest. I mean, then I have to put like an advert at the the beginning of it and be like, watch Spotify for podcasters so you can like make it. I'm like, nah.
That's it. So.
I'll just keep going and not make money off of it. And I don't know if Pastor Robbie, did he tell you about his idea for like, he wanted to do like, when I did the first 4 pastors, he was like, we should do like a round table with all of them. You want to have 4.
Think Noah mentioned that.
He was like, he wanted to do 4, all 4 of them at the same time. And I'm like, my gosh, that'll be chaos, but that'll be amazing chaos.
Yeah.
Like, because they talk and I talk.
Oh, yeah.
So that's...
I talk too, so makes me good at my job.
So, I mean, I'm like, that is a lot of... I mean, I don't know how long that would be. Probably... Yeah. I know it'd be over an hour. There's no way.
Absolutely. That would be your longest podcast. You might have to do that one like parts. Like
I might have to, because I know Drew said something. He was like, dude, you should like film it. And I'm like, I don't know how, but that'd be great if we could.
That would be cool too.
And because I've done a few that are like, with my face in them. But I don't know how we could do that if we were all in the same room.
Yeah. You just do one long shoot and then then split it into however many parts it would go in. So.
And I know that he said we were like gonna tell the church about it, and I was like, huh? All 900 people, and because one thing I want to try to do, and when we do that, is like put an email out, like so if people want to, get interviewed and put the story out there that are in the church, they can, because I can't reach everybody like just by walking up to them.
Yeah.
So if you want to email me, and we'll set up a time, because there's too many people in this church for me to
watch up to 900 of them.
Watch it. I do that, and there's gonna be 900 emails. I hope not, but. We'll see how many episodes. I mean, because I know over half of the episodes I've done now are from in this building somewhere.
There you go.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
And one of the first ones, I mean, I did this one at my house, but Mikey's was good.
Yeah, that's the...
His was really good. Like, he comes in here with 3 pages of notes and dude, you were prepared, ready to go.
Notes, so off the dome.
Off the dome, yeah. Because he had like a certain topic. I was like, if you got a certain topic you want to go with,
okay.
I'm like,
that makes sense.
Go ahead. And I'm like, that's fine with you. And he was like, sure. And I was like, and his still sticks with me, like, because it's about working, like putting your all into something.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
he talks about like his time at Chick-fil-A and stuff like that. Yeah.
Right, and all the funny stories too. Yeah. Like, but like, that's great for like just being here. You want to put your all into, whether you're a pastor, intern, whatever. But you're all into it. Plus, you'd probably have a really good time if you do that.
One of the greatest pieces of advice I got before I went into ministry was I was asked the question, could you see yourself doing anything else? And if the answer is yes, then don't go into ministry, because you won't give your all to it. And ministry is one of those things, the spiritual warfare, especially that someone like Pastor Robbie goes through, is just on a different level.
Yeah. So I can't imagine with him being... Yeah.
He's called to be an example, and God's called him. Obviously, Jesus is the shepherd over Pastor Robbie and over all of us. But And then he called Pastor Robbie to shepherd over Northside. And so, and we kind of shepherd our ministries, like kind of alongside Pastor Robbie, helping him, especially with the church our size.
Mm-hmm.
And so, man, the spiritual warfare is it's intense sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
So the first time I preached 3 times in a week was probably
I bet that was
one of the toughest weeks I've ever had.
Mm-hmm. And I it was funny when I first started this. That oh my gosh, that spiritual warfare hit hard. Like especially when the big episodes came up, like Pastor Robbie. It was like that hit hard. I was like, do you think you really can do this or whatnot? Yes, I can. I'm just gonna pray about it, and we're gonna get this done.
Someone that knows a lot about spiritual warfare is Pastor Jeff.
I bet
he's if you want to do a topic on that and talk to Pastor Jeff, he's just. Man, his knowledge on that
might need to
ridiculous.
Get that for the round table, huh? Get some questions for each of them.
Especially for them, the ones that have been in ministry for longer than I've been alive, man.
I mean, and one thing, when I talked to Pastor Jeff about doing this intern thing, I was like, for one, I know that people need help up here, and I'll be more than happy to help because what else am I going to do this summer? Sit on my butt? I didn't want to just do that because I've done that in the past and I got really bored. So, and this is kept my brain busy, and I'm actually doing something to help, the church. So, I mean...
Praise God.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
And on top of that, I love seeing those graphics up there.
Yeah, dude.
It's like, oh my gosh, cool. I had a help in that, and it's up there on the screen for people to look at.
It's cool.
Especially that welcome one. I can't stop looking at it. I was like, that looks so good.
Yes, sir. That's awesome.
And Noah's a great teacher.
Yep.
For somebody who's sat there and taught himself pretty much everything that he knows about all that stuff, then he can sit there and teach me. I'm just like, dude, I don't know how you do it, but you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So
a lot of people think that Noah was trained to do a lot of what he does, but probably about 90% of it, if not more, he taught himself.
Yeah.
So
and a lot of that you can. And I've some of the editing stuff that I've done, I've taught myself how to do it.
Yeah.
And some of that you kind of really have to play around with it.
Yeah, you learn your own system and stuff like that. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and learned how to do the Next at Northside cards and all that stuff too.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. There you go.
And making sure how to print them right. Yeah. I don't know what happened. Did he tell you about that? The first week that that was what I did the first week. Pretty much I did those. They didn't print, and I was like, "What did I do?" And he's like, "You didn't do nothing. They just didn't print." And I was like, because it was funny because I always get one. I was like, "I know I typed these out. What happened?" So
yeah, sure.
Where they at? And but I don't know. It was just a technical thing.
Yeah.
But
it happens.
I just hope I can do my part to help all of you out.
Yes, sir. Well, man,
just
from yesterday when we were cleaning out that closet, man, you're a huge. Yeah. Not a fun time.
4 closets cleaned out and.
Not a fun time.
Some scary times. I didn't know it was about to jump out at me and those
welcome
things.
To ministry.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, seeing stuff where that should not have been.
Yeah, really.
Was.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But, so you sure you ain't got no final thoughts or anything? I'll let you have it.
Well, like I said, man, I appreciate you taking me on here and let me be here, man. It was awesome.
Of course.
So,
Yep. Of course.
And with that, another episode of the Young Minds Podcast comes to a close. Always remember, you are never alone, and faith is action. So let's get out there.